My name is Doug Weaver. I'm an engineer and a partner with Rose and Associates, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to an economic evaluation tool we call ProjectRA. Now, ProjectRA is great for not just evaluating your unconventional projects, but actually helping you to design and execute them. Now, we all know what troubling times we're in. Our industry is facing enormous pressure, both with complications due to the coronavirus, low oil and gas prices. The fact of the matter is that a great many companies are going bankrupt. We read about more every day. However, it's important for us to realize that the financial woes of the unconventional resource producers is not a new problem. Before there was a virus, before there was oil price crashes, we were seeing producers that were having a great deal of financial trouble. And the basic problem was kind of twofold. One, we were continuing with projects that really didn't have a chance of economic success, and we were overpromising what our projects were going to deliver. So after painting that rather bleak picture, let us provide you with a tool that can help. So let me introduce you to ProjectRA. These are some of the key attributes of ProjectRA. First and foremost, it's very easy to use, very simple workflow. We're going to employ something as we set up the tool and set up your project that we call segments. So people will ask, what is the definition of a segment? And the definition is whatever you need it to be to describe your project. If, for example, you were working in the Eagle Ford, you might have a segment for the gas leg, for the lean condensate, the rich condensate, and the oil. So you might use 4 segments to define the Eagle Ford. If you were in the Wolfcamp, you might define your segments vertically and have a Wolfcamp A, B, C, 3 different segments. So that'll be the basis of evaluation for the tool, the construction of segments. It'll employ what we'll get into in a second, a really critical aspect of the tool, and that is the staged approach to project evaluation. That we need to go through and pass certain critical stages before we can take a project into development. We're going to show you a bunch of options on how you can either construct in the tool or import type curves that you already have, and embrace that basic Rose philosophy that we need to evaluate uncertainty around all of our inputs. The tool will address something that we call an uncertain mean. What that simply means is that if I don't have very many samples, I don't have a lot of certainty in the mean, and so it becomes a bit dangerous to rely on a mean type curve based on very small data, a very small amount of data. The tool is going to allow you to do, again, both the type curve, but also a volumetric resource estimate, and we'll show you a little bit, compare the results and look for differences. And one thing that the tool embraces is cradle to grave evaluation of your project. So once you've evaluated your project and used this tool in the design of your project, you're also going to be able to use this tool as you execute your project. You'll actually be able to bring in the results of wells as you drill them and see how well those results compared to the assumptions that were around the initial type curve that you created for your project. And just to mention, we have a 4 or 5 day course called URAV that goes into all these concepts and, of course, much, much more. It's a course we teach both in-house and open to industry. So something you may want to consider if you like what you see in ProjectRA to learn a little bit more about it. One of the key features of this tool is how easy it is to use. There's a workflow that will always show up on the left side of your screen, and the basic workflow is to start at the top and work your way to the bottom. Very easy to complete all your inputs and very easy to navigate back and forth around the tool. The key reason that many of our unconventional projects are commercially unsuccessful is because we're just too quick to assume that our project is ready for development. The key component of ProjectRA is the ability to break a project into stages. The first stage being discovery, the second stage being deliverability, where we design a few wells to test for rate. Then we design a demonstration stage where we test the project for commerciality. And if we've successfully passed through those three stage gates, then and only then would a project be ready for commercial development. ProjectRA will then summarize the results of those stage gates in a decision tree where we'll be able to see both the value of success and failure for each of the three stages that we need to pass through to get to development. The key to this whole process is stopping if we're not successful at any one of the pre-development stages. Quit spending money on projects that are ultimately going to be non-commercial and move that capital to more economically viable projects. So the key, as many of you know, to any unconventional evaluation is the construction of the type curves. We give you a lot of optionality around that. You'll notice on the right a list of the methods that are available to you. I would also mention that all these methods can be linked together in a segmented approach, or as many as you require for the construction of your curve. Also want to note on this particular screen, you'll see a red arrow that points to a blue box. Anytime we turn those blue boxes off, we'll have the ability to put uncertainty around all the input parameters. Now those are shown here for type curve construction, but they'll also apply to operating cost and capital and many of the other parameters that are going to be part of your evaluation. So to give you even more optionality around the construction of your type curve, many of you have constructed type curves for your projects in other mediums, in Excel or whatnot. So we give you the ability to import those directly into the tool and then add uncertainty to the type curve that you've imported. We also have some other options that allow you to import matched pairs of type curves. So for example, you could bring in a family of curves, each one of which has an oil, a gas, and a water decline curve to it. And so we have the ability to bring masses of type curves into the tool as well. Beyond the tools that you'd expect to find and applications that you'd expect to find in a software package designed to evaluate resource and economics and decision analysis, ProjectRA is going to introduce you to some new techniques and some new tools that are very powerful for the design of your project. These are all going to take advantage of the statistical notion of aggregation. And we have a couple examples of these tools shown on this slide. On the left is what we call a trumpet plot, which shows the relationship between uncertainty and number of wells. And this can be both important in future projections and evaluating things like the sample size that we use to develop our type curves. In the upper right is what we call a confidence curve, which shows the relationship between the number of wells to be drilled and the confidence in achieving a specific rate. So for example, in this plot, it shows us that if we were to drill 5 wells, we would have a 62% chance of meeting or exceeding 300 barrels a day. And you can see how this is important in project design because 62% is not a high level of confidence. But if I wanted a higher level of confidence, for example, if I wanted to get to 80% confident I'd be able to achieve that rate, I'm going to have to drill approximately 18 wells. And in the lower right is a third application of aggregation. This is called sequential aggregation. We use this to actually determine, as our project is being executed, how well our assumptions around our type curve inputs play out. So the band that you see between the red and the green line, that's a band of statistical control. As long as the cumulative actual results stay within that band, the assumptions around our type curve are valid. What we want to look for are plots that proceed outside of that band, which means that the assumptions around our type curve aren't correct. And we need to go back, recycle, and come up with a better set of assumptions. ProjectRA is also going to give you the ability to do a volumetric assessment, where we can put in all the subsurface parameters required to generate a volumetric resource assessment, and then importantly, to compare the results of the volumetric assessment to the results of a similar assessment done with our type curve evaluation. We can then compare those results and look for differences between the two methods, which might be important in our overall evaluation. Well, ProjectRA is going to generate several different outputs, obviously. For me, the one that I find most critical and useful is the decision tree. We showed a cartoon version of this a little earlier, where I'm actually going to be able to interrogate the economic results of the success or failure at each stage in my project. When I solve my decision tree to the left, I'm going to generate an expected value for the project, which of course is going to encompass all the success and failure results across the tree. I'm also going to be able to generate a commercial chance of success for the project. So I think you can easily see that if I've generated ProjectRA models for several of my projects, just these two metrics alone are going to give me some very important ranking criteria so I can select the best portfolio of opportunities for investment. In addition to the decision tree, of course, there's many other outputs that ProjectRA will provide you. Here's a couple. We have the ability to generate production or cash flow plots, as you'll note from the radio buttons and checkboxes on the upper diagram. We can quickly and easily switch these from, again, from production, net production, cash flow. We can separate these up by product, and we can separate these into the segments or the pieces that we've used to describe our project. We can do that in tabular form as well. You'll see the table in the lower left, where we can not only break this and evaluate this by segment or piece of your project, we can also break it down and see an economic analysis and summary by specific stages within your project. So very functional, very easy to use, very easy to interrogate the results of your analysis. In conclusion, ProjectRA is a great tool for virtually any kind of economic evaluation you'd like to perform for an unconventional project. It's really great for early screening and scoping, again, based on its ease of use, but it can be used for anything from bid evaluations, appraisal design. As I've noted a few minutes ago, there's some new tools that can be extremely helpful with the design of your projects. And any other type of economic evaluation you might need to perform. That's a brief introduction to ProjectRA. We're constantly generating improvements to the tool. A couple improvements that will be coming out in the near future. For those of you who may be familiar already with the tool are facility limits. So we'll be able to actually, on the project and segment level, put production limits on pieces of the project, and the ability to break our drilling program into pilot well, horizontal well, and then ultimately completions, so we can more accurately schedule out the pieces of our project. I know that the restrictions due to the coronavirus have made face-to-face meetings a bit problematic, but truth of the matter is that if you'd like to get a little more detail on this, virtual demos are something that we were doing even before the virus hit, so very easy to set something up and give you some more detail and actually show you the tool. So if you'd like, contact us. Phil Conway's email and phone number are here, and we'd really love to give you a chance to show you a piece of software we're extremely proud of. So thank you. Stay safe.